We just got our first bit of interest in somebody actually trying out the Philset, and I realized that, well, I've written a ton about how it works and the philosophy behind it and the information architecture that it uses. I haven't actually explained how to work with the Philset. I just kind of leave that to the reader to figure out on their own. And that is not always the most helpful way to introduce a library to the world. So I figured I would record this video as an introduction to the fill set, what it is, and how to use it. And fortunately, I have a client that I'm working with right now, a nonprofit called We Will Through Sports. They want a new website, a new WordPress theme set up for their website. And I'll be using the fill set to construct that theme for them. So that creates a pretty great use case. So I'm in Visual Studio Code here. You can use any IDE. I know Cursor is probably the most common for AI work, but I like this one. I'm just going to make a new project folder. So let's call this We Will Through Sports. All right. I'm going to open this up as a brand new workspace. So the fill set is a skill set designed to be used with Claude Code. So to use it, you do have to have Claude Code installed, and it is mostly used through the terminal. And if you haven't read it elsewhere, the purpose of the fill set is to enable a cooperative workflow with your AI. I think a lot of the issues that people run into when they're working with AI agents is a failure to communicate your intent clearly to the AI, or maybe a failure to understand your own intent thoroughly enough that the AI can code it. So then the AI, fills in the gaps in your understanding, and it's going to do it in whatever way makes sense to it, which might not be the way that you would have wanted it to do that. And that creates a lot of confusion, which is just unpleasant all around. So the fill set solves that by sort of forcing you to work with your AI to figure out what is happening before it happens, so that you don't make as many mistakes and you don't have to spend as much time fixing those mistakes. It also scaffolds and retains context from one session to the next. So even though you're starting a new Claude instance every day, and that Claude instance does not remember what happened yesterday, the context documents that it gets introduced to will explain what's going on. So in a brand new folder, I'm going to start by running philset begin. Now for first time setup, you're going to want to run philset init, and that configures a root development directory, which all of your other projects are going to want to be inside. Let's see, this is my root development directory. It's on my hard drive, just users, fill, development. There you go, that's it. And inside this are all of the projects that I'm working on. The development folder has this root level.meta directory, which is where Claude stores all of the context generated by the fill set. The assessments and designs are empty because this is not actually a project directory. But here you've got the top level workflow.md, which is a record of how to work with you as a particular user, which Claude will build and develop over the course of all of your sessions together. And as this gets built, it becomes a sort of expectation setting document for your Claude. So when he is born into your new directory, he knows what to expect from interacting with you. And over time, it creates the development. It creates a much smoother development experience. So that belongs in the root level development directory, which is why you start by typing in Philset init, and that'll prompt you, okay, what's your development directory called? You give it that, and then it's like, all right, we're good to go. Once you've created a development directory, you create a project directory inside it. In this case, that's We Will Through Sports right here. It's an empty folder, nothing's in it. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm in the folder. I type Philset begin. All right. Now that is going to set up a .meta, a Claude.md, and a few, the folders that you need in here. And I realized that I forgot to pass the dangerously skip permissions parameter. This is a personal preference thing. I personally hate giving Claude permission to edit files every time he has to edit a file. It is so redundant and stifling. And I found myself launching Claude Code with dangerously skip permissions on so much that I just made here Philset DSP, because dangerously skip permissions is a lot of fucking characters to type. Pardon my French. I'm going to curse a lot. I'm just talking. I'm going to curse a lot. So Philset DSP shortens that to something that's easier to type, and now I am not going to have to manually give Claude permissions 24 times an hour. Okay, so now it begins. Hello and good morning, Claude. So this hello command is the beginning of the developer workday. So the Philset assumes that you're going to work on the same project for multiple days in a row. And every day begins by saying hello and ends by saying talk to you later. And this hello command, let's see, I had it open. Let me pull up the actual Philset directory. So this is open source on GitHub if you want to read through it on your own time. But the actual skill here, hello, skill.md, this is what Claude reads when you type hello. So keep in mind that he's just woken up. He has no idea what to expect yet. And this document is here to tell him what to expect. Session startup ritual, the user typed hello, orient yourself. And this step 0 introduces Claude to the Philset, lets him know what to expect. And then he does this tree walk here, where he starts in the current directory and just goes up until he finds the root level development directory with your workflow.md. And then he looks around the directory that he's in, figures out what's going on, and then mirrors it back to you. Here's the directory that I'll just show you. So hello and good morning, Claude. He almost always says, good morning, let me get oriented. It's quite persistent. Not always, but usually that is verbatim what he says. So now you can see him doing the tree walk, reading all the files, figuring out what's going on. And in a minute, he's going to say brand new project. All right. Yeah. Okay. So now let's get to work. In the meta directory, there's this thing called an inbox. And over here, I have the Figma designs that We Will Through Sports put together. So this is a new project that they're working on, or rather a website redesign. They've already done the design work. They just need somebody to build a WordPress theme for them. So, okay. So I speak to Claude as if he is a pair programmer. Throughout my career, I've done a lot of pair programming. It is my favorite way to develop. It has always been my experience that 2 minds do better work than 1 mind. And the work gets better, the better the communication is. So I prize communication with my human collaborators and I prize communication with my AI collaborators. So I talk to Claude like I would speak to a junior engineer at a company I work for who just so happens to also be a genius. But he is the junior. Keep that in mind. You have to stay in charge. That's very important. Okay, so check your inbox. We're doing some client work today. Our job is to set up a new WordPress theme for an existing website. We will, through sports, I dropped their Figma in your inbox. That's redundant, but whatever. Up first, we're going to want to pick a WordPress theme to extend to match the Figma. Okay. So now what I'm driving towards is the first step in the second Philset cadence, which is the feature branch. So the developer workday begins with hello and ends with talk to you later. The feature development flow, this is when you actually work on something together, begins with assess, then goes to draft, then goes to ship, then goes to review. So assess is the first skill, and what it does is it asks Claude to look around at what already exists, get a sense of the lay of the land, get a sense of the amount of work that you have in scope for this session, and mirror that back to you as both a response in line, but more importantly, a design document produced under this assessments directory here. So we're doing some client work today. Our job is to set up a new WordPress theme. I dropped it up first. We're going to pick a WordPress theme to extend to match the Figma. Can you assess the design documents and search for and suggest some themes we may want to extend. We may want to use as a base theme for our work. For context, We Will Through Sports is a nonprofit and they have a low budget. A small purchase price for the base theme is fine, but an ongoing subscription is not. All right. So, while Claude flummoxes here, I'll show you the assess skill over here. So this one assesses the current state of a feature, system, or area. If you're in an established project, he'll scan the whole code base. He'll read all of the design documents. He'll figure out what's going on, what's been done, what remains to be done. How does the feature work that you did last week relate to the feature work you're doing today? And this gives him a memory, basically. This makes it feel like he has a memory. Because you have to remember, every new session, every new Claude does not remember anything that happened yesterday, unless it has been written down and he has been prompted to read it today since booting up. So assess, make sure that relevant design documents are in his context window for the day's work. And it looks like he's doing a bunch of web searches. This is fun. I hate Google searching, for the record. And shitification has had its grips in Google for a decade, as far as I'm concerned. The whole concept of search engine optimization means that the first page of Google search results is just a list of people who have paid the most for SEO engineering to get on that first page. It tells you nothing about, and like that's before you even get into the pay to play, like the AdSense people who are like literally paying to be a sponsored post at the top. Even the posts that are not sponsored posts are just who had the best SEO engineer, which, like, SEO engineering is difficult, don't get me wrong. I'm not too great at it myself, but it is not a proxy for relevance. It's a proxy for SEO budget. So I hate Google searching. It almost never gives good results. On the other hand, you ask an AI to Google search for you, and it will do a ton of work. Of course, it's still on you to follow the links it produces and check out the actual websites, make sure no hallucinations crept in. I find the hallucination rate is very low when you provide good context, but it does still happen. You do still have to manually verify. But this is so much more efficient than digging through a dozen tech articles with pay-to-play best WordPress sites of 2025, best WordPress themes of 2025 links, which again is just a map of how much people have paid to be ranked there. Okay, sorry, my cynicism is showing. It tends to do that when I vamp. Okay. Claude is still flummoxing. I guess we can keep talking. He hasn't written the... Oh, nope, he's starting to write the assessment now. So the assessment file follows a simple structure, a recurring structure. He'll go through the current state, what's working, what's missing. If it makes sense, he'll talk about the scale of the feature. I am a software engineer. I mostly use this to build software. So things like how many users will you have? Are you shipping large images or not? That matters. For example, my main project right now is a SaaS platform called Praxis, which is probably going to end up on AWS at some point, unless I do the whole thing on Railway. I haven't quite decided. But what makes that decision matter is this capacity estimate right here. How many thousands of users do we want to support, and how big are the files that we're serving to them? But I have found that the Philset is very good at being applied outside of the software engineering domain. I've actually used it to plan my resume. I had Claude draft, and draft is the next skill we'll get into. I have had Claude draft a career trajectory for me, including like what is the order I should ship these projects in, which of the projects that I'm working on are good targets to be carved out and released as standalone packages, which of the projects are better to build in a different order, what pieces of writing can I produce to support the theory behind the code that I'm writing. That's all stuff that Claude is really good at, like mirroring back at you. And this basic format of assess, figure out what the heck is going on, tell me what the heck is going on, is very helpful. Now, I do want to point out, okay, so Claude is done. He's written his assessment. Excellent. Okay, that's good, and I am going to read that. But, all right, the important part is Claude is going to tell you what the heck is going on. It is still on you to verify that Claude's understanding matches your understanding. And the reason why I have him create these structured documents is so that I can read them. When I first started working with Claude, I found myself having really long conversations with him through the command line, trying to get to a shared vision of the reality that we want to create together. And it was really slow and painful. And this is less slow and less painful, but it is still work. So I'm just going to read it out loud so you're not bored watching this. We Will Through Sports is a youth sports nonprofit, basketball clinics, camps, tournaments in the New York City tri-state area. Shout out NYC. Current site is at wewillthroughsports.com, hosted on Ionos. We're building a new WordPress theme to match their Figma designs. Wow, Claude got a lot of context I did not give him there. Good job, Claude. All right, constraints. Low nonprofit budget, one-time purchase okay, ongoing subscription is out, hosted on Ionos. Standard versus managed WordPress. Managed restrictions, it's standard WordPress. All right, so I happen to know the answer to this. It's standard WordPress, which means custom themes are allowed. All right, design analysis. From the Figma files, meta inbox. All right, editorial magazine aesthetics, slam magazine, bold black and white photography. They actually have a really gorgeous design. Hold on, let me show you this. Like, look at this. Hold on, I've actually got it pulled up on Figma. These are inspiration sites, obviously, but like, gorgeous design aesthetic. And then they sketched out what it might look like for their website. It's really good. They got a different volunteer to do their design, and it's really good. I love it. My sites never look anything like this. Look at this. My stuff always comes out looking all like, I don't know, bookish, highbrow. This is like fun. I don't know. I'm always impressed by the vision that designers are able to bring to their code. It's a skill I have just enough of to realize it's not my best skill. Okay, so capacity estimates, if applicable. All right. Nope, that's the wrong one. Let's get back to this assessment. All right, inspo board, editorial magazine aesthetics, slam magazine, bold black and white photography, oversized typography, dark layouts. This is not a typical nonprofit or sports league look. It's magazine editorial. Yup. Journey map, simple site structure, targeting 3 audiences: donors, donate page, volunteers, volunteer page, parents, programs page. Homepage flow, mission statement hero, learn more, programs, volunteer, donate. All right, 3 color direction options explored. Option 4 is the most ambitious: huge display type, split layout, photo grids. Its file name notes it may be outside of what Ionos may not be able to do. Let's consider making a toggle. Okay. How hard would it be to... All right. I'm not sure which option the client will want to go for. When you make your drafts, can you include, can you make sure it's easy to change between color schemes and font palettes in the child theme? So right here, you're seeing what the human in the loop actually does, which is know what the wider world is going on. Claude knows how code works, but Claude only knows what he's learned in this session and what is already in his training data. So he knows a draft is coming up because he's read hello. And he knows how to architect a WordPress theme so that it's easy to change color schemes and font palettes. Like, that's something that Claude can do pretty trivially. On the other hand, he does not know that we don't know what the client wants. And he does not know that we might want to approach the client and be like, well, hey, I can actually give you any of the 4 options that you put together. Which one do you want? That's not in his head. He's just like doing what I asked him to do. Okay, so here's where I put in a little bit more context, make a request, etc. All right, key design characteristics: very large, bold, uppercase display headings, dark navy background, simple nav, photo grids, content forward, 4 to 5 pages total. Pages already exist. We will be making new pages in a future session, but backwards compatibility with existing content is a must. And then, because I genuinely don't know, do you want me to download the theme they're working with right now? Okay. I genuinely don't know if he's going to want that or not, so I'm asking. What the base theme needs to support: bold typography controls, dark color schemes, simple page layouts, donation integration, mobile responsive, lightweight, no subscription. All right, recommendations. Option A, free block theme recommended, 2025. Cool. Love it when there's a top-level, first-party supported implementation. This is almost certainly what we're going with. All right, full site editing via theme.json, complete control over typography, colors, spacing without touching PHP. Yup. Zero cost, zero dependencies, zero vendor lock-in, block patterns for hero sections. Phil can define entire design system in theme.json. Okay. Active WordPress core maintenance. Sounds like it's going to be trivially easy for that feature I requested. Active WordPress core maintenance will never be abandoned. Works on any iOS WordPress plan. Standard to manage. Cool. Trade-offs: no pre-built sports non-profit patterns. All visual design comes from custom CSS and themes. This is fine. We'll figure out backwards compatibility. All right. Option B, Campo by Bold Themes. I'm probably not going to use this. Built for smart clones. Bold. Proprietary page builder means vendor dependency. Nope. Do not want. May fight the theme if editorial look diverges from the sports club patterns. The price is a little bit more than I want to ask a nonprofit to pay, which makes sense. It is a proprietary thing for a sport club. It's designed for a for-profit. I think. Are sport clubs typically for-profit or non-profit? I don't know. All right. Option C, Sydney. A themes, bold, full page hero, out of the box. Okay. So in this case, I'm not really going to look into the other options because I think, well, Claude is completely correct that a free theme, which gives us complete control over it, is the best thing to use in this case, especially because I can get working on it now instead of waiting for the client to purchase a license and give me access to it, which takes a long time in my experience. Okay, recommendation option A, 2025. Open questions. Yeah, I already answered this, but I'll answer it again. It's standard. Color direction. Which option is the client leaning towards? Answered inline. Donation integration. Wait, why does this matter? Let's see. Where are they? Let's check out their existing websites. Donate. PayPal, Venmo. This tells me almost nothing. I definitely could be looking at the plugins that they're using instead of trying to figure it out from this. Yeah, it just says donate wrapper. That's not helpful. All right. This is how humans gather information. It's much slower, you may notice, than when the AI does it. Which one of these plugins? There we go. Plugins. Installed plugins. What you got? Kismet, anti-spam bee, better search replace. Duplicate page, fast file. Gravity forms, Jetpack. I'm an Android guy. Jetpack means something different to me. All right. WordPress Simple Pay Pro. And that's Stripe, right? Yeah, that's Stripe. Stripe via WordPress Simple Pay Pro. All right, and content volumes. How many programs need individual pages? Is this a 5-page site or a 15-page site? Let's actually look at their pages because I don't know that. I swear WordPress did not used to have this tiny ass little icon bar. They used to have labels. Back in my day, WordPress had labels and we liked it. Let's see, 62 items. So it is a I'll be more thorough here. 60 pages in their pages list. No idea how many of them are actually live. If you've worked with WordPress, you know you usually end up with a lot of pages that are not actually published. Okay. So now I've iterated on the assessment. I've responded to it. Annotated inline. I think you're right that 2025 is the way to go. Let's see. Well, it's been a minute since I made a custom WordPress theme. It has. It's been like 10 years since I've made a custom WordPress theme. I had to use PHP. It was terrible. It's been a minute since I made a custom WordPress theme. Can you include downloading and extending the parent theme in this directory as part of your draft? Actually, that's probably better here. It's been a minute since I made a custom WordPress theme. Can you include downloading and extending the parent theme in this directory as part of your draft? There we go. All right, and let's do you have enough to draft? Okay. So I made the Philset keywords specifically easy to use in conversation because I talk to my Claude like a pair programmer. All right, yes to downloading the current theme, knowing what templates and block patterns you're using. Okay. Drop it in the inbox when you got it. I have enough to start the draft now. All right, so he does want the theme. I'll get that while he works. Let's see where you got it. There we go. Themes. Active. Divi. All right. How do you download this? Do they have it customized at all? Published. There's the mobile. Do they have any additional CSS? They have a little. Do they have any mobile styles? For the record, I'm looking through this because I know that Divi is a top-level theme. It's not a child theme, so they haven't made a new custom theme on top of Divi. So I don't actually need to download it directly from their database to get the exact copy. All I need is the custom CSS that they've added, and I'm doing a bit of poking around here to make sure that they haven't done anything particularly crazy with the theme built-in configurations. So now let's go back to the inbox and let's make a new file. We'll call this wwts custom css dot CSS. And then let's find Divi theme WordPress. And try it for free. Give me a zip file. I want to download your zip file. This is not a zip file. This is not a zip file at all. Join to download. Heck no. Wait, they're paying $20 a month for this? Oh, we can do better than that. Okay, no, they're probably paying $7.42 a month. Okay. So, Claude is probably done. Let's check out the draft. Okay, so after the assessment, Claude makes a draft. And this is that draft. What do we actually have to do? So, all right. A 2025 child theme for We Will Through Sports that delivers a bold editorial magazine design aesthetic from the Figma, while preserving backwards compatibility with about 60 existing pages. Color and typography palettes are swappable via theme.json so the client can pick their direction without code changes. All right, theme structure. Style.css, theme.json, functions.php. So this is very important. Another thing that a lot of people have problems with AI coding is you end up with just a bunch of top-level files because the AI is very good at searching and scanning, and you typically are telling it to write something rather than organize something. A lot of the time you end up with just a big unstructured mass of files sitting in your repo. And that's not what you want. You want a nice structured sitemap like this. This isn't a sitemap, it's a directory map, whatever, you know what I mean. The Philset supports this with the logical architecture convention, which I haven't documented anywhere yet. But basically it's a file that looks like this, which hosts the location for all of the code files in your repo, which Claude can reference whenever he needs to find something. So that makes it easier for Claude to see what is already in your repo, so the new work that he does fits in with what's already there, and it makes it sensible so that you can follow it. And then on top of that, my personal workflow.md has some things like, hey, prefer human readable names. Don't abbreviate too much. Stuff like that, which results in a very clean and ordered structure. So this is, I think this is in the no, actually this is not in the draft at all. Yeah, the draft skill does not actually tell him to do this. He's probably inferred that this is something I would like him to do because he's read the logical architecture document as part of the hello skill, and he knows that a logical architecture document is going to be part of what we produce together. So he's created a proposal for the logical architecture document right here. I did not ask him to do that. The skill did not ask him to do that. That's entirely on his own initiative, but he is entirely correct that this is exactly the information I want from him right now. That's how AIs are. They give you what you give them. They want to make you happy. They want to do what you want them to do, and they're very good at figuring out what you want them to do. You just got to figure out how to communicate with them in a way that they can understand. Okay, getting off my soapbox. Style.css, theme.json, functions.php, parts, header, footer, templates, front page, page donate, page programs.html, page.html, patterns, hero mission.php, two-column overview, photogrid.php, volunteer CTA, sponsors grid. All right, design tokens, color palette. All right, typography. I mean, I know what JSON typography looks like. That's why I'm scanning through this very quickly. This is pretty easy to validate. The display size uses clamp to scale from 48. Good. Font choice is TBD. Ooh. Babus no is good font. Oswald, free condensed sands, Anton. I've never heard of Oswald or Anton, but Bebas New is good. All their Google fonts. Oh, great. Yeah. Client is unlikely to care. Let's use Bebas. New. Not the old, the new. All right, spacing. JSON-C, settings, basic sizes. All right. Template parts, header, logo, menu, donate, dark navy. Footer. Page templates, block sequence, hero, full width, dark navy. Okay. Empower youth. Great mission. That's my nonprofit's mission. 2, shout out, proper elevation. We don't have a donation flow. I was about to make a joke about giving us money, but you actually can't. We're too exclusive for that. I should probably fix that though. All right, overview, 2-column, properelevation.org. Follow us on Instagram. There you go. We're awesome. Here's how we change lives with photo grids and body text, volunteer CTA, call to action, donate page, templates, page donate from the journey map to the options, donate form top. All right, donate form left. Yep. Stripe form comes, template provides surrounding layout, plugin handles payment. Programs page, matches the journey. All right, generic page. Yep. Okay, this is probably going to be an open question, and I have an open question about this too. So I'm putting a pin in this later because the backwards compatibility, I'm not sure how it's, yeah, exactly. It's the next thing he talks about. This is the biggest risk area. 60 existing pages are built with the current theme. All right. Okay, it's a block editor. Divi is a block editor. Let's see. All products. Okay. So let me just check out one of their actual pages. AM workouts. Edit. Ah, god damn it. Here's the Divi builder. Okay. No. Let's see. Let's look at their, okay, they have contact and contact Divi, and they are both live. Okay, so here's regular contact. I see nothing. All right, let's check out contact Divi. Huh. Well, okay. It doesn't seem they've set up a lot through Divi yet. This is interesting. And that might be quite good, actually. Okay. Interesting. All right. Okay. All 3 Figma options show the same nav, pattern, logo, hamburger, donate. Menu, trade-offs, child theme versus standalone, definitely child. Yeah, we're not building a standalone theme block from scratch. But yeah, block patterns, and then those are all the reasons why that's the obvious right choice. But it's still nice to have them list the trade-offs. Sometimes I tell them to choose something else. It's happened like 3 times. Palette swapping via theme.json versus WordPress theme variations. Yup. Self-hosted fonts. Self-hosted? Oh, really? I would have linked to Google Fonts here. This is interesting. Why do you choose self-hosted? GDPR compliance, no third-party requests, better performance. Works offline and dev. Okay. Not sure performance is super relevant for a Google Fonts lookup, but you're probably right that this is better as long as we can still use Bebas. Alright, block patterns versus reusable blocks. Chosen, theme registered block patterns, alternatives, synced patterns created in the editor. Patterns are code, live in the theme, and are version controlled. Synced patterns live in the database and can be tried for developer-driven build. Code wins. My time on this project is limited, and we are going to want to hand the site off to the non-technical client for maintenance. How does that change your calculus? All right, open questions. Current theme. What theme is the site running on now? Divi, using the block editor. Dropped custom CSS in your inbox. It's proprietary. Not sure how much the block editor will mess us up. It's proprietary, so no .zip. Not sure how much the block editor will mess us up, but if it makes it easier, looks like the client hasn't configured many pages with the Divi editor yet, so it's probably standard WordPress PHP. All right, font selection. Bebas, unless they complain. Color palette. I have a meeting with them today. I'll ask, can you create a client questions.md document with this and any other questions which come up during development? Okay, page audit of the 60 existing pages. How many are live? Which use custom templates? Which use shortcodes? Blocked on current theme. Is there a way to download WordPress sitemap? Let's see if that works. Where'd they go? Where's we go through sports? Come on. We go through sports, and then you just add sitemap.xml. Oof. And they're not in chronological order? What the heck? Alright, 2026, 0519. This is the most recent. Oh, I see. Post page attachment sitemap. Alright, I'm just going to download all of these. And let's make sure I'm dropping them in the right. Yeah, no, that was some grant research I was doing for Proper Elevation. Hey, shout out Proper Elevation. We are not working on my own nonprofit. Did you guys know I have a nonprofit? We're not working on my own nonprofit right now. We're working on We Will Through Sports. So, here's the inbox. All right, save. Very fascinating watching, I know. This is how the sausage gets made. By taking somebody else's sausage and chopping it up and shoving it into a new casing. Alright. Answered partially inline. Unless we really need an that's too much. He doesn't need to know all that. Sitemap in inbox if it helps. Sponsor section. Sponsor? Oh, that's a good question. Actually, I'm just going to say add that to the client questions.md. All right. Style variations. Should we use style variations? Let's just build with option 4 for now, and I can ask the client if they want to see alternatives. Add that question to client questions.md2, please. All right. Answered inline. Ready for iteration. So, the idea of the document in the Philset is that this takes the place of endlessly chatting back and forth about, no, I didn't want that, Claude, I wanted this. Oh no, you misunderstood that. Ah, you used the wrong architectural pattern. Ah. Instead of having that conversation through the command line, you have that here. And then he just reads it and responds. So he's going to write a new draft document now, which folds in all of the answers. These are going to be marked as closed questions. He's going to figure out the rough amount of work that needs to be done. And, oh geez, I'm probably going to have to end up setting up a local WordPress environment to test this shit. God damn it. As long as I don't have to write PHP. Okay, this is nice. Good context, 54 pages in sitemap, mostly galleries, payment registration, program pages, custom CSS is all Divi specific, so it won't carry over. It also means we don't need to replicate it. Content should be standard WordPress blocks. Your point about patterns versus reusable blocks is well taken. If the client is maintaining this, synced patterns in the editor are actually better for them. Let me update the draft and create the client question stock. All right. Now let me update the design doc with all your annotations. Okay, so while he's canoodling, I usually work on a Pomodoro timer. So I will get up, I'll get more coffee, I'll drink some water. It's hard to stay like fully engaged with development for hours on end, and I can get more work done in the day if I pace myself. So this is actually a very long development session for me, and I would have taken maybe 15 minutes of break spaced out over the last hour, typically while Claude is working. Instead, I'm coming up with random things to say to entertain the 3 people who are presumably watching this. So let's look at the draft skill that he's working on right here. So this is the third skill in the developer, in the feature branch lifecycle, rather. And we didn't set up Git here. We should have set up Git. That was a mistake. And he should have flagged that mistake. Interesting that he didn't. That's something to consider for a future session. Okay. So this creates the working design document. He does a branch check. He does a scope check, make sure that he has enough information to get working. Gathers context, which means checking the assessment, checking for existing designs that we might be superseding or that we might need context from. And then he writes up the actual draft. This includes a status, or he writes up the actual design, which begins with the status draft. Eventually that gets accepted, and that's what the ship skill does. The ship skill actually accepts it. And that's what we'll get into next. So, topic, desired state, 1 through sentence summary of what we're building and why, sections is appropriate to the topic. This will, this varies from topic to topic. The examples that are given are very, vibe coding specific, building an application. But that is going to be different depending on what your particular project is. And then open questions. And things that are specifically out of scope for this project. The open questions are where the important iteration happens, usually. It is still important to read it because sometimes you'll notice that Claude assumed something that you didn't want him to assume. And that is what all of these sections are for. Double check that what Claude is intending to do is what you actually want him to do. And once you've double checked that, then you answer the open questions, which is a lot of the time where creativity starts entering into it. Okay. All right. Key changes in this iteration. Font locked in. Palette locked in. Client handoff section added. Cool. Backwards compat updated. Cool. Yeah, but there don't seem to be many built with Divi Builder. Site inventory broken down, 10 core, 18 galleries, cool. Client questions on MD. All right, let me check this quickly. I mean, I didn't ask for major changes, so I'm not expecting there to be any major blocks that I need to read through, so I'm not going to do a line-by-line thing. The updates are exactly what I expected the updates to be, so at this point, I do actually feel... Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. This is new. Theme pattern versus sync patterns, chosen theme registered patterns, Divi migration, gradual versus big bang, activate new theme. Yep. Manually rebuild every page before switching. Yeah, exactly. This is fine. Okay. Looks good. We forgot to set up a Git repo, though. Can you make a new private repo for We Will Through Sports and put us on the on a feature branch for We Will Through Sports theme? Then ship. So ship. What ship actually does is it blesses the design doc, so what you've been talking about, what you've been passing back and forth with Claude. This marks it as accepted. If it's replacing, superseding any previous docs, it drops those in the archive. It doesn't delete them, it drops them in the archive. It updates state files, and then it just starts building. So I'm not sure if he's going to need me to download the parent theme for him before he starts building it or not. I'm holding out to make sure. Yeah, so he's updating the decisions.md and the in progress MD. These exist so that future sessions know what decisions we made this session and know what we're working on when they get booted up. So these get read during hello to make sure that the new Claude instance is up to date with what the last Claude instance was doing. And yep, he's just downloading it. All right, he's just gonna go. He's gonna get everything he needs off the internet and probably just build the whole thing in one go, which is pretty cool. So over here, this is the ship skill. First thing it does, identify the design. He's never had to identify the design because this usually comes up in conversation. I literally say, sounds good, ship it. Then uses it, finalize the header, update the design docs front matter, it's accepted, assessment, all that. Archives the superseded docs, updates state files, and then starts implementing. You may notice this skill is very small and it's mostly boilerplate. This is all just update the boilerplate. And then step 5 is build the design. Just build it. And if you've done your work right in the design loop, then you're on the same page about what you actually want built, and he's able to just do it. And this is when I usually walk away and get a coffee or browse Reddit on my phone or do something else that I find interesting. I'm tempted to film myself browsing Reddit to give you some entertainment. Fuck it, let's do it. No, you know what? Let's look at Proper Elevation. Shout out properelevation.org. This is my nonprofit. It came out of my friend and co-founder Renique's brain. And at the time, we were both working at eBay. He was working the front desk. I was working a desk job. And we started talking, and it's like, holy shit, we have the exact same worldview, and we believe exactly the same things are wrong with society, even though we come from completely different backgrounds. And he became one of my best friends at the eBay office, and I was really bored working at eBay. That's not eBay's fault, for the record. eBay is an amazing company to work for. They've treated me better than any other employer I've ever had. Even when they laid me off, they did it gently. Golden ass parachute. Well, silver ass parachute. So eBay was great, but I don't personally find building infrastructure to help people buy and sell trading cards particularly personally fulfilling. And I was struggling with motivation there a little bit. And Renique had this idea for teaching kids in the community that he grew up in the life skills that they need to succeed. And I was like, wow, that sounds so much more fulfilling than helping people buy and sell $100,000 trading cards. I would rather do that. So we talked about this for a few months, and then a year or so later started building it. And we are now in the school, Kingsborough Early College Secondary School. We've been running our curriculum there for 2 years now. It's still a very rudimentary curriculum. We're literally just gathering information at this point. I believe in iterative development. I've written essays about how much I believe in iterative development. So we're building it with real feedback from real students. So right here, this is our program. We want to give kids money and then teach them how to spend that money, because we believe that it's easier to do something that you already have experience doing, and telling kids how to budget, how to spend, how to save, how to practice restraint, how to care for someone in their community. That's hard. You can tell them how to do it, but when they get out into the world and they start earning money, they won't actually have any habits to fall back on. And habits, it turns out, are more important than knowledge for determining what you actually do. So we try to teach kids the habit of spending and saving well by giving them money to practice with, which is something that poor kids a lot of the time don't have, turns out. And while we're doing that, we're also helping to address things like food insecurity and access to basic needs in communities where you can't take food security for granted. So we're loosening restraints on communities who have too many restraints on them by giving the kids the money they need to practice basic financial hygiene, essentially. Here you go. Practice makes permanence. Another thing I've written essays about. So that's the dream. Obviously, we're just getting started. We do not have enough funding to give our kids real money. We're planning on using Monopoly money this fall, which is something a lot of financial literacy programs do. As far as I know, we're the first one that's trying to use real money grants. But the Monopoly money is pretty standard for a lot of financial literacy programs right now. We host events sometimes. We haven't had one for a while. This page is empty. But my co-founder, Renique, his other side hustle is an event planning and party throwing business called Events in Your City. So shout out Events NYC. They don't have a website yet because I haven't built it yet, but I will soon. And this is my website, philbass.com. I like it. Ooh, look at those slick animations. Ooh, so slick. All right, essays. If you want to read me talking to Claude for 5 hours, you can read me talking to Claude for 5 hours. Oh, and here's how you download the Philset, which is the thing that I'm showing you how it works. It's why you're here. Assuming you're here. I've been talking for an hour. Oh my God. How do podcasters do this? All right, let's see how Claude is doing. All right. So what's going on over here? That's all the inbox. That's all designs. All right, here we go. Here's the theme. It's got the fonts, footer, header, pattern. All right, templates. Yes. Okay, so he's done all this work, and it has been an hour, and you may have noticed I'm getting a little bit loopy. So I need to refill my coffee and rest my brain for a little while. This seems like a good place to end the tutorial. So let's demonstrate the rest of the Philset. Yes, please. I'll want to do a second draft cycle for setting up a local testing environment so we can wrap up this feature branch here. After you push, please review. So review is the last skill in the feature branch lifecycle. After the work has actually been done, you review the work which has been done. And in this stage, he does more housekeeping. And then he runs 6 parallel analyses. Efficiency. Is the code well written? Does it run quickly? Are there any order n squared loops? You don't want any order n squared loops. Is it redundant? Are we repeating ourselves? Are there bugs? Does it match the architecture that we had planned? Does it match the designs that we had planned? Is it ready to merge into the database? This hasn't been an issue for me yet because I've been working, on my own projects. But this is here to future-proof it against multi-user repositories. And I'm trying to set up a collaboration with a couple of my friends right now so that I can test, well, partially to make the project with them, but partially to test the Philset in a multi-user repo, where this makes sure that nobody else has made any decisions or introduced any designs which contradict the work that you've done on this branch. And yeah, so he's running those 6 analyses right here. He's going to come back with a list of reported bugs and things to improve. This is not intended to replace a human PR. It is intended to create a feature branch which is ready for a human PR. That's important. So again, if you're using this in an enterprise company, you still need to review your code before merging it to main. You still need to get approval before merging it to main. I tend to play a little bit fast and loose with that on personal projects and projects that are pre-beta. But once something starts having external users, you have an obligation to make sure that you're not breaking it for those external users, which is what the human PR is for. This prepares the branch for the human PR. So, yeah, missing closing block comments, theme.json, improvements. Okay. Redundant inline styles and patterns. I'm basically rubber stamping at this point because I am very tired. Font version numbers in design doc, not breaking. No, fix the nits too. Fix them all, please. I don't know why you wouldn't fix those nits. It's trivially easy. I mean, yeah, they're trivial problems, but they're trivially easy fixes. So once you're done with review, the next skill, is retro. So retro is kind of free-floating. It doesn't strictly belong to the feature branch lifecycle or the developer day lifecycle. I tend to use it roughly once a day. Typically at the end of a session, I will use retro. And this is just an opportunity to learn from the work that you did together today. I do put in some guidance in Hello, where if Claude feels like he's experiencing friction with you, he can invoke retro himself to surface the cause of that friction and find ways to work better together. But he's honestly never done that for me. I don't know if that's something that he'll actually do at any point. But I use it manually at the end of a session to see if there's anything that we want to persist. And then the final skill is TTYL, which just wraps up the session, ends everything. So, all right. Looks like he's about done fixing these nits. And the bugs and the nits both. Nit is programmer slang for nitpick. It's something that doesn't really matter, but bothers you. And I usually try to fix the nits, and Claude usually tries not to. Not sure why, but he is doing very good this session. All right. Yeah, and he's already suggesting talk to you later. Merge and retro, please. This was a pretty small thing to do a retro on. We've only been doing this for an hour, but for completeness, I'm going to show you what the skill looks like. So he's merging everything, pushing it to Git, and running a retro. So right now he's gathering context on everything that we did today, and then he's coming up with 3 questions to ask. All right, pace. We went hello, assess, draft, 2 iterations, ship, review, merge in a single session. That's the full pipeline. Was the granularity right, or did any step feel rushed? The assessment in particular moved fast. I did theme research and wrote it up without much back and forth before the draft. 1. Pace was great. Thanks for saving me all that research time. 2. Patterns. I noticed the inline annotation. He comments on this a lot. And yeah, okay. I noticed the inline annotation workflow on the design doc worked well here. You annotated the assessment. I incorporated it into the draft. You annotated the draft. I updated and shipped. Is that the right default for client work like this, or would you prefer more conversation before I write the first draft? This is the right workflow for all types of work. IMO. It's easier to iterate. It's easier to ideate. Ooh, fancy word. When you can see what you're iterating on. All right. 3 discoveries. This is our first client project together versus your own projects. Anything about how this session went that should inform how we handle future client work, for example? Oh, that's actually really good. Yeah, this is something we do want to work. Yes. Client questions. .md is a great pattern to retain for future work. All right. Good feedback. Let me route what's useful. So now he's proposing the memories that he's going to save. So this is the long-term learning so that future Philset sessions can build on this one. All right, workflow.md, add note about client questions.md pattern. Yep. Memory feedback, inline annotation workflow confirmation. Already in workflow.md, but user just confirmed it generalizes beyond design to all work types, worth strengthening the existing language. I know, he keeps bringing that up, but honestly, I think he was reaching for things to retro on because we really didn't do that much this session. I'm reaching fatigue much earlier than usual because I'm not doing my Pomodoro timer. Okay, so, yes please, then TTYL. Not TYL, TTYL. Good work today, Claude. All right. And there we go. So I can't test it right now because setting up a WordPress local environment is a whole thing. And you don't want to watch another whole thing after just watching this whole thing. But I can tell you my experience lately is enough that I've got like 95% certainty that what Claude wrote here will work. What I would do next if this were real development is I would boot up, well, this is real development. What I would do next if I had a local dev environment is I would boot up the local dev environment and I would manually verify that everything works. There are probably going to be a few places where it doesn't quite work. There are definitely going to be a few places where the design isn't quite what I want, or we need more spacing between element X and element Y. And during that section, I'll take a lot of screenshots and I'll drop the screenshots in the inbox, and then we'll iterate on what's going on in this screenshot. Which elements need more spacing? Do we need to add X or Y or Z to the page layout? So that's sort of similar to the draft cycle, except we iterate on screenshots rather than iterating on design documents. And there we go. So that is a Philset session, run start to finish. We did one feature branch and one developer day, but what's typical for me is over the course of about 5 or 6 hours, we will have one hello at the start, one talk to you later at the end, and in between we'll run through the assess, draft, ship, review, merge loop 2 or 3 times. And that's how I've been building everything I've been building lately. It's a formalization of the code that we developed together. So for example, let's see. Your reward for sticking around this long is you get a snapshot of Praxis. This is my dream task management software. And the idea is you have an actual model of your actual values. And we use that model to prioritize work for you. We also have a sort of time-aware prioritization engine. So I'm a morning person. I do my best work in the morning. So I've got it set up so that I get hard work in the morning and I get easy work and networking in the afternoon. And then I set it up so that my mom can give me book recommendations for things that she's been reading lately. And she can just drop that in her Praxis app, and it gets recommended to me in the evenings. So this is still in heavy development. It's not ready to ship yet, but the Philset is what I've been using to build it, and the pace has just been astonishingly fast. So it's really good. Like, I've never had so much fun or been so productive developing before. And it all evolved out of actual use. I started with just, here's a fun new tool, let's build something with it, and kept the patterns that worked. And here they are. I hope you like them. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Talk to you later.